So I have a few disclosure. I'm working in Abu Dhabi, and I welcome you anytime. It's not very far from the rest of Asia, and the weather is still tolerable in terms of sun, and it's a beautiful city. And I will be very happy to share with you that. Since a few years, we see the rise of the machine, and I'm not talking about Terminator 3. It was in 1988. We are talking about the robot that we are seeing in our OR. It's coming, and it's coming a lot, while actually robot is quite old. It's a term that has been first introduced in 1921, which is a long time ago, 100 years ago, and it was defined as a machine programmable by a computer capable of carrying complex series of action automatically. So you see, it's a very large generation, and we are always thinking about the same thing when we are considering a robot, but it can be a lot of things. At the moment, I'm very biased because I'm one of the designer of ROSA, and we did 3 years ago one of the first case CE and FDA approved after the trials in Australia in Abu Dhabi. So the question is, will it be the standard? And I want to go back to the past, go back to the future, but go back to the past because we learned a lot during these 2 decades. I started in 2000 and something with Jean-Noël Johnson in Marseille to do computer-assisted surgery. At that time, it was more like a Star Wars robot inside the knee than anything else. The engineers were putting in the knee what they saw during their teenagehood on the screens, and that was working, but that was a bit bulky and complicated. After came up the time of the smart tools with the accelerometers, and Professor Nico Budaparama did a brilliant PhD, and within this PhD, he had a great article showing the interest or the limit of these accelerometers. There's also in the literature an excellent accuracy for all this system. It has been shown that the system are able to deliver what they are here for, which means that they are able to deliver accurate cuts in the knee, mainly for the frontal angles. However, we saw progressively, except in Australia, the disappearance of this system. And why? Because during many years, our basic hypothesis was that a neutral mechanical alignment for everybody will increase survivorship, will bring better functional results, and will basically improve the clinical results of our patient. However, we were unable to demonstrate any functional difference, and we published so many papers about that, absolutely no functional difference. So people were like, why would I use it? Maybe survivorship? No improved survivorship. And we showed that just the restoration of the neutral mechanical alignment is not sufficient to have a nice and long survivorship of our implant. So when reading all the conclusion of all these papers, there was conventional instrumentation remains the standard and the gold standard. So you're going to tell me, Seb, what is this not different for the robot? Why it's going to be the same for the robot? And the opponent are always saying the same. They're saying it's just a trend. They're using the Scott parabola, which is describing the rise and the fall of a surgical technique. It's the promising idea, the strong media pressure, great acceptation, standard of care, and then it's decreasing and kind of falling apart. And all the opponents of robotic are not going to use that. However, now we published a paper showing them that the realistic vision is different. If you look at the interest for robotics, for computer-assisted surgery, it's not decreasing. It's keeping on increasing, and it's based on the registries and the use of this system in the registries and the number of publications, and robotics is here to stay. Why also? Because there's 3 significant concepts. And Simon did a brilliant talk about the new type of alignment, and more surgeons are chasing this type of alignment all around the world. We published these papers with my former PhD student, Charles Rivière, with my friend Seb Lustig about personalized alignment concept. And we know now that the mechanical alignment is still remains used for many surgeons, but also a lot of surgeons wants to use something else. However, there's a risk. There's a risk of malposition. It's not because I'm talking from Abu Dhabi that I'm showing the camel curve. It's just the reality. When you look at the spread of the data around the curve, when you're using mechanical instrumentation, it's all over the place. And even if we are a great surgeon, we might some days not do the proper job. The danger is that it's to obtain dramatic malpositioning of the implant, whether it's in the frontal plane, in the sagittal plane, it's not going to work. You can say whatever you want, it's not going to work. And as Parratte said, it's not the only factor to have satisfaction after knee arthroplasty. But if you miss this one, for sure, it's not going to work for your patient. So the danger of shifting the curve outside of the boundaries, particularly when you're aiming for different target, is to go very far away from what is acceptable. So for that, and to compensate that, whatever you do, you need a proper tool to achieve your targets. And it's even more true if you do kinematic alignment, restricted kinematic alignment, anatomical functional alignment, where you chase for personalized target for each patient. The same principle is there. You have to obtain a targeted angle, an amount of resection, and a ligament balance. And I do agree very much with Simon that doing a knee arthroplasty, it's not only chasing a frontal alignment of 180 degrees. It's a lot of things, restoring the offset, restoring basically the anatomy of the femur that is going to drive the knee kinematic on the top of the tibia. So a few facts about robotic after what just said. Fact number one, there's a need to improve surgical performance. For those who are going to tell me, oh, Seb, I'm too good for that. I don't need a robot. I'm very, very good. Look at this paper, and you see, if you look at the Swiss registry, it's very interesting because they studied the rate of revision. They studied also the variability between the surgeon and within the same surgeon. And we all need a better tool because we are not every day the best surgeon in the world. The idea is to increase surgeon performance. You know, Atul Gawande is the one who introduced the checklist in our OR that saved a lot of problems, and is a very interesting author, and he's talking about surgeon performance, and it's really what we're talking about. And robotic can help because the robots are accurate. And we prove that robotic is accurate. We prove that in preclinical studies, but also in clinical studies. Fact number two, it may translate into better clinical results. I say may because so far, there's not enough prospective, randomized, comparative, unbiased studies to definitely confirm this idea. However, in our hands, we also showed that, showing that our results, functional results, were better with ROSA than without ROSA. It's true also for different type of robots. Fact number three, and I would like to thank our Australian colleagues for doing so well, this Australian National Registry, because thanks to that, that was one of the first registry that could be used to prove the benefit of robotics, a short-term period of time, of course, but still showing that there's a relative reduction in revision of 35% when the robotic assistant has been used. Fact number four, it's easy to learn. And you see that the practice is shifting. Before it was the time of the Lord. Surgeons were used to do 300, 400, 500 knees. Now these practices are divided into 5, 6 surgeons, and surgeons are doing 50, 60, 100 knees, sometimes a little bit more, but the practice is much more divided, which means that the experience is divided as well, which means that our younger colleagues are going to need even more help to do a better job. And this is something that is true for robotic. It's relatively easy to learn, and they're going to do a better job sooner than what we used to do. It's also efficient. You can reduce instrumentation, and we're talking about green a lot at the moment. Sustainability and reducing the instrumentation is something very important as well, because we're going to be able to save a lot of energy doing that. Fact number 6, and you can say whatever you want, but it's bringing patient in. And every center adopting robotic technology has an increased patient income in the center, and it has been published in the literature as well. Fact number 7, Wall Street is ready. The industry is pushing for that. Whatever you want, it's also a factor that is very determinant in our work and in our clinical work, because when the market is pushing for that, when the industry is pushing for that, in general, that's the tendency that is going to be followed. And fact number 8, this one, you cannot say anything about this one. Even the most gifted surgeons are interested in robotic total knee arthroplasty. Rami, we knew already, no surprise. A little bit more surprising is Parratte. You see, he's on this picture. We had 2 weeks ago a very interesting chat together about robotic surgery. So that means that he's interested. So really, if we can convince Parratte, that's really a fact that nobody can discuss. Of course, there's negatives. The cost, still very expensive. Of course, there's still rigid bodies, there's still registration, screen and connectivity are not ideal yet. And of course, you're going to tell me that there's no definitive evidence that patients are doing better, because it's very hard to show that a patient is doing better. Like Parratte was saying, there's so many factors interfering. So where are we going? Hardware. We have to work on the hardware. My iPhone can recognize my face, but my robot cannot recognize a knee in front of me. We have to do something to get rid of these 3D trackers. Of course, we have to do something to not look at the screen when we are driving. We have in our car, we have the high screen type of systems. We should do the same for surgery, and it's there, it's going to come very soon. And to me, the most important challenge is to know where we should go. Because we saw today that Simon presented something, Parratte presented something else. Rami is going to tell me, no, I have a different type of alignment. Nico is going to say, oh, Seb, you're crazy with your things. Trust me, I know the best alignment, so nobody agrees about that. So a goal without a plan is just a wish. And in surgery, in total knee arthroplasty, I wish I could have a goal to make my plan, because at the moment, the planning is still very tricky. There's over 1 million of different combinations when you look at the screen of a robot. Too many information for the human brain, and we really need to understand. We really need to use better tools to apply what we're doing, to collect the information, and then to adjust using modern tools to help us to make a better decision intraoperatively. For the robot not telling us only where we are, but the robot telling us also where we should go and how to achieve it. And that's how the robotic is going to really bring us to the next level from what I'm thinking. And it's going to also help us to demonstrate that in terms of healthcare value-based delivery, it's efficient. And when we will be able to show that the value that the robot is bringing in is really interesting, that will help us to really get a robot for everybody everywhere in the world. So robotic and assistive technologies, you can say whatever you want, it's here to stay. We are working on positive evolution in terms of hardware, and the surgical community has to keep on working on the goals in total knee arthroplasty, and also to understand better the value-based healthcare equation. Thank you very much for your attention, and happy to discuss now.